All right. Welcome to week 4, our final week. I guess what I want to do to get us started tonight is talk a minute about makeup work, because there seems to be a good bit of you that have some makeup work to do. One of the most important things for us to discuss is last week's assignment. I am actually going to do tonight a little bit of a review on that, because there's still roughly 13 of you that haven't submitted week 3 assignment, and there's been a couple that have submitted them and they were kind of wrong. So I want to make sure that you guys understand exactly what's expected for last week's assignment. And it's very important for you to understand that last week's assignment is what we're going to use this week to create the final kiosk interaction. So if we don't have week's 3 assignment ready to be made into this kiosk this week, we're going to be stuck. So, again, very important for you to understand that, and that's why I wanted to start with just that brief announcement, so to speak. All right, so yeah, and I'm going to get into that shortly. But just for a moment, what I wanted to do is I wanted to give you a little bit of guidance for this week's discussion, the future of information design. Might be a little bit intimidating because it's asking you to hypothesize on the future of user experience in information design, incorporating and considering development technologies and software. I mean, it sounds like a really big thing to deal with. But in fact, it's really not that big of a deal. And as a matter of fact, if I can show you here, what I've done is, did I close it? Don't tell me I closed this. No, I'm sorry. It's here. The future, I'm sorry, there it is. The future of user experience design. I simply Googled the future of user experience design. Now, why am I showing you this? Because you're going to have to write a discussion for this week's topic, which is the future of user experience design. And I wanted to show you that a simple Google of the future of user experience design is going to bring you up with a ton of really good information here that you can go in. Look here. Will there be UX design in 5 years? This is a prediction. So you could go in and you could look at this. What's the future of user experience design? I mean, all of this information is right at your fingertips by simply just going in and Googling the future of user experience design. I mean, if you do this, it will cut the time that you need to write your hypothesis on this project down significantly. Okay, so that is the actual discussion for this week. It does talk a little bit about this here. Visual communication is growing at an unprecedented speed. I'm not going to read this whole thing for you. I'll let you read this, but the important thing is that you really are going to get much more information by Googling the future of user experience design and then coming in here and taking a look at all of the selections that you get. And I mean, there is just endless of them. Look at this. There's like, look, 1, 2, 3, 10 different pages. I seriously doubt that you're going to have to go beyond this one page to find everything you need, including your citations and your referencing. It's all right here. So again, I'm just trying to make this thing all as easy as possible by giving you some guidance, and that is basically use Google. Google is actually a very convenient way to find your way around anything that you need to do. I do it all the time, and I'll tell you what, it saves me tons and tons and tons of aggravation and time by coming in and finding exactly what I want. As a matter of fact, a little later on, I'm going to go and show you how I used Google again in a completely different way, but the bottom line is I'm using Google quite frequently. And I'm sure I'm not telling you something you haven't already learned, but I'm just reminding you how important it is to consider this whenever you have something like this. And I'm actually trying to make it simple for you by telling you pretty much what to Google. The future of user experience design, perfect thing for you to type in, to go in and locate all the information that you need for your discussion. All right? So I do want to go into a couple of small details here because I want to make sure everybody understands this. There's been some issues with this. Your initial post to get full credit is due on Wednesday. Now, that would be Wednesday, which would be right here, the 28th. Now, today is the 26th. So if you want full credit for your post, you must have it in no later than the end of the day on Wednesday. Now, it says here 2 replies are due by Saturday at 11:59. That would be the 31st. But here's what I want to say to you, and this is very important. For those of you who really, really care about what you're doing, I want you to try to get your posts in earlier. I mean, for you to put in a post at the very last minute, 8 hours before the deadline, 16 hours before the deadline, I mean, yes, you're getting it in, and it does tell you that it must be done by that time. But the truth of the matter is, you're not really setting up a condition where you're communicating with students. You're just basically filling an obligation. And there is a difference between filling an obligation and participating. And if you get in and you participate, then perhaps you'll get a response from your students. And that's what discussions are all about. So again, for those of you who, can't seem to get it together enough to get it done before the deadline at the very end, okay, I'm just saying try to find a way to produce these replies, these student replies sooner, all right? That's all I'm going to say about it. I just wanted to give you an idea. All right, so let's go down to the prompt real quickly. All right, so the prompt basically is asking you to discuss how you imagine the future of information design will be. I am absolutely convinced if you go to the link that I just gave you, you should find everything you need to answer that question. You probably would be able to locate within that bit of information 2 developing technologies and hypothesize on how they will affect the future of information delivery and distribution and consumption. I believe if we go back to this for a second, let's see here, where was it? Where will UX design be in 5 years? I would be willing to bet you that you'd find right in there the information you need to answer that question. You also would probably find it here as well. So it looks to me like these very first 2, okay, should give you the information that you need to answer that question. Again, I'm only pointing this out because it's important for me to try to make this as easy as I possibly can on you. So I've done a little bit of preliminary work to set this up so that you don't have to struggle so much. You know basically where you can go to get the information you need. In the post, share your findings and your thoughts. So in other words, what you find is important, but what are your thoughts on what you found? What do you think? We also want to know what your thoughts are on this. So make sure that you put this into a way that expresses your thoughts. And how do you think this is all affecting you as a designer? What is it in your world that this is improving or making more difficult? How does it affect you? Put this information into your post as well. In your comments, build on your classmates' ideas and see where they may lead. See, so here I go back to what I was saying before. What you're trying to do is, in your comments, you're trying to build on your classmates' ideas. And it's very hard to build on something if you submit it at the very last minute. Nobody really gets the opportunity to examine what you've said and build on it. That's why I say it's very important for you guys. If you can't do it with me, start doing it in all of your classes. All of your instructors will appreciate it to a very large degree if you get your discussions in earlier. And it is a much better form because then you have a real dialogue going. Putting comments in at the very last minute satisfies the criteria, and I give you a grade. But does it do you any good? Not really. And again, what I want to caution you is in understanding that timelines exist not just for this school, but timelines are going to exist in your entire life. If you're fortunate enough to actually get through school and become a graphic designer and then go out and get a job, you're not going to be able to ignore deadlines. If you have deadlines, you're going to be held to your deadlines, and you're going to have to find a way to manage your time and meet those deadlines. And if you fail to meet deadlines consistently, you're going to lose your jobs. That's how it works. I mean, people are not terribly forgiving about things. And I understand that, people have issues where health issues or family issues. I get all that. But at the same time, you really have to find ways to satisfy what you're doing. Not only, not at all for me, but for you. I mean, this is all basically coming back to you. You're the ones that are getting the grade. Listen, I just recently went through my master's degree, and it was a tremendous amount of work. And I'm an old guy at this point. I'm saying to myself, why am I doing this? Well, I'm doing it because it means something to me. Having that piece of paper makes me feel good. It shows that I can accomplish something. That's what you should be seeing and feeling. So I say all this to you not to be aggravating, but because it's what I believe. And I think ultimately you should start to believe that too if you don't already believe that. All right? All right. So for your citation, you might use articles. And I showed you where the articles are. You can certainly go in there and find a citation. You can also find articles that suggest changes to. It's all there. It's all there. I absolutely am convinced. Your initial and reply post should work to develop a group understanding of the topic, challenge each other. And again, as I say, build on each other. The only way that can happen is if you guys get in there and put your posts in, and if you get in there and put your comments in early. Again, if everybody waited until 6 hours before the deadline, there would be absolutely no interaction between the students. There would just be a bunch of random assertions that are being put in there. There would be no back and forth whatsoever. Also, guys, very important that you understand this. All right, your main topic should be at least 150 words. Please, when you do this, it's probably a very good idea to do it first in Microsoft Word. And the reason that I say you do it in Microsoft Word first is because it has a word counter, and you can see how many words you've done. I mean, you're looking to do 150 words. You need at least one citation and reference. So in other words, you're going to cite somebody within the body of the document. And again, I shouldn't have to tell you this because you've done this as a 200 level course. You've done this for every course, but you're going to cite one source within your document, and then you'll have a reference down at the bottom for that source. You're going to have a minimum of 2 follow-up posts, and each of those posts should be 50 words. Do me a favor, guys. When you put these posts in, just don't go, great, I like your pictures. I like what you're thinking. I agree. I think that's the way we should go. Make them make sense to the actual discussion that you're having. Say something positive, but say something that has some insight. Try really to deal with whatever it is that you're replying to, the direction that your fellow student went in, a comment that they made. If you take a look at some of mine, some of mine can come off sounding a little fruity at times. I'll admit it. I'm not perfect. Nobody is. But if you take a look, I try very hard to find some aspect of each one's post that I'm commenting on, and I either pick it apart, support it, or put in a spin on it. That's what I'm basically trying to do, and I do it much more than 50 words, because that's basically what you need for your replies, 50 words. You'll see almost all of mine are more than 50 words, okay? Now, I'm not saying you have to go as far as I do. I do what I do. You do what you do. But you have to have at least 50 words, and you should try to add something to the conversation. And generally what I'm talking about when I say add something to the conversation is you're adding something to the conversation that the other student is having with you. So you're replying to them, and you're giving them your opinion on it, okay? I guess that's really all there is to that. I'm not going to gild the lily on it. That was pretty much it. So, all right, I've got one in already. I've already got one in here, okay, and I'm waiting for you guys to put yours in. So let's move on to the assignment. So the assignment is planning a user-friendly interface. Before I get into this, this is actually week 3 assignment. And the reason that I brought week 3 assignment up before I go into week 4 is I wanted to talk just a little tiny bit about the 2 aspects of what you were supposed to do week 3. Again, as I say, there's approximately 13 students that have not submitted week 3 yet. And in order for you to do anything in week 4, you really do need to submit week 3. So what I just want, and several of you have submitted week 3 incorrectly. And, you've got my notes, and I just wanted to go over this a little bit in class to help fortify the notes that I put in there to make sure that everybody understands what I'm talking about and what I'm looking for. It's very important that you understand what I'm looking for so that I can move on and show you how to deal with the stuff that I want you to do in week 4, okay? All right, so the first thing I wanted to point out is a couple of you guys are having trouble understanding the concept of effective icon design. I've asked you to make buttons, and I'm going to read and discuss what it says here to do with these buttons, and then I'm going to go into Illustrator and I'm going to show you the buttons that I made. And I actually went in, and just to hopefully make this a little clearer, I made a couple of other sets of buttons for Target and for Walmart. And the reason I did it was because I really want to drive home what I'm looking for in these buttons. These buttons are a very important part of week 4's assignment, which is to create this little simple, and I mean, this is a very simple, this is not a complex interactive kiosk. This is just basically enough of a kiosk that you get an idea how that's done. Look, guys, there's 2 weeks here. We don't have enough time to do something incredibly complicated. We can do something relatively simple, and we can still learn and understand the whole process in that time if we do the project, okay? But you have to have your ducks in a row going into week 4 in order to make week 4 work. If you don't have everything correct in week 3, week 4 is going to be a disaster because you're not going to have what you need to make it work properly, and it's going to end up looking like a mess. So I'm trying to do the very best I can to make you understand what you need to prepare for week 4, so that we can actually go into the process of linking these pages up and producing what appears to be an interactive kiosk, which is somewhat similar to what you get when you create a website, okay? So again, I'm just trying to make you understand this. All right, so what is effective logo design? In information design, symbols are often referred to as icons. So logos, symbols, icons, buttons, they're all largely the same thing, all right? A button is a symbol. It represents something. I'm going to go into that more in a minute. Most user interface designs, and what we're working on here is a user-friendly interface. That's what we're doing. They rely on icons. In our case, we're calling them buttons, but they're still icons. They're the same thing. To communicate quickly. Now, there's the key to this whole thing is the quick communication. So these buttons have to be incredibly simple and incredibly clear. That's the most important thing. And it's going to talk more about that in a minute. To communicate quickly, universally, and without using too much space. So buttons need to be very simple, very clear, and they need to be small, not big, productions. They're tiny little things. Icons need to be simple, clear, and easy to understand, have a cohesive look and feel. Well, right now we're not dealing with branding in this course, but branding plays a lot into this, in that when you're working with a particular company such as Walmart or Kmart or Home Depot or Lowe's, they have their own branding. Branding to them, they have symbolism that they've created that they use. They got colors that they use consistently. They have fonts that they use consistently. They have layout arrangements that they use consistently. All of these things help to develop a cohesive look and feel. That's one of the reasons why I told you that when you decide on your particular business that you're going to use, whether it be Walmart, Target, Lowe's, Home Depot, or Michael's, or whatever the other ones are, whichever one you choose, one of the things I told you that was very important to do would be to go in and take a look at their website. And the reason that you're going to that website is there's a number of reasons. Number one, you want to get the look and feel of what they do. You're trying to come up with a concept for their cohesive look and feel. You're building something for them. That's what you're trying to do. Even though this is an artificial project that you're doing in school, the same idea applies. Unfortunately, we don't have branding manuals for them. So you have to use your imagination and you have to use your creativity to come up with a look that matches what they do. Okay? So by going in and taking a look at the website, you get a pretty good idea of how they have developed their website, what they do, and how it looks. The second value you get out of it is that they usually have some form of copy that you can copy and paste into a Word document and you can use to apply to your pages, which is exactly what I did with mine. I actually went in, there's departments. When I did mine, originally I did Home Depot, and they have departments. And each one of the departments, I was able to find a 1 or 2 line statement that I copied and pasted and used in my kiosk interface. That's where the copy came from. I didn't just make it up. I actually found it and used it right off of the website. Okay. And then, of course, the other thing is the use of color. And you also I found I needed a picture. And what I did was I went in and I went into each department that matched up as closely as I could to the names that they called my departments. In the case of Home Depot, they were lumber, paint, tools, electronics, and yard and garden. So, I mean, I went in and I found the departments that were as close to that as possible. And they had, slightly different names. But, I mean, I'm not dumb. I could figure it out. And I was able to find pictures from within each one of those environments that I was able to copy in one way or another and utilize in my layouts. I did that a number of ways. I did it by dragging and dropping a picture from the site onto my desktop, or I have a little application on my computer called, what's it called here? The snipping tool. All right. And the snipping tool enables me to go onto like a web page. If I had my web page here, here's my snipping tool. If I click on the snipping tool, I get this and it says new, and I click on this, and you see now what I can do is I can come in here and I can snip. See how I snipped that little piece? That's all there is to it. I was able to snip that little piece, save it as a JPEG. Now, I'm not going to save this because I'm only trying to show you how I did this. But I would have gone into the site and I would have found the good picture that I wanted to use that I couldn't get. Maybe I couldn't drag it off because it was part of the layout of the page and it wouldn't allow me to just drag it and drop it to the desktop. I snipped it. And then what I did was I took it into Photoshop, cleaned it up, and then I had my image and I brought it in and I used it in my layout. So, I mean, I'm just trying to give you some ideas as to how to go about doing this. All right. So let's move on when we're talking about the icon. Let's get back to icons. For icons, they need to be quick and easy to understand. This is the most important thing. In the case of the icons that we're creating, and they really should be calling these things buttons at this point because that's what we're working on. They continually call them icons here, and they should be, by this point, calling them buttons because that's what we're creating. So they need to be quick and easy to understand. You have to give up the desire to be unique and different. You really have to start thinking in the most simplest of terms. I'm going to show you mine shortly, and I'm going to show you how I handled buttons for 3 different companies. And as a matter of fact, for Walmart and Target, which are the 2 that I did after I did the one that I actually used, which was Home Depot, I used almost the same imagery for Walmart and Target. Why? Because they both were looking for grocery, home, pharmacy, apparel, and electronics. So once I had the images that I want copied into my folder and I was able to bring them in and trace them, I had the same images and the same layout could be applied either way. You're going to see what I'm talking about in a minute, and hopefully it'll make sense to you, and you won't have as much trouble understanding and doing this. I think maybe some of you are intimidated by this, but it's a lot easier than you think it is if you just give it a shot. All right. In icon design, you will instead strive to be predictable and rely on common metaphors and symbols that the audience are familiar with. I went in and I did a Google search. I'm going to show you exactly how I did my Google search and what I looked for so that you can go in and do it yourself. Objects should be shown in their simplest and most recognizable form. Avoid unnecessary details that will only clutter and confuse the message, especially if they need to be used in a small area of the screen. So like I say, in this particular case, try to keep your symbolism and your buttons very simple. Try not to use very fine lines. Don't use a lot of details. Keep it really simple. I'm going to show you what I did in a moment, and hopefully after reading this and showing you this, it'll make sense. When designing a set of symbols, icons that will be used in the same interface, it is important that they have a cohesive look and feel. Use a grid, clean geometric shapes to create the icons. It's a good way to get a consistent shape, curves, and angles. Basic vector shape tools are very useful when creating these icons. All right. So for your assignment this week, you start the design process for an interactive kiosk at a large superstore. You pick one of those kiosks. It'll be a 2-week project with the final design and presentation due for your assignment in week 4. Right now we're in week 4, and one of the things that I'm going to begin doing a little later on tonight is showing you how to prepare your work to do the linking that we're going to be doing in order to make this kiosk work. That's what this is all about. Last week when we put those panels together, we put together 7 different panels. We had a welcome panel, we had a main navigation panel, and we had roughly 5 individual panels that did nothing more than point you from the kiosk to the department. That's the whole thing in a nutshell. And we're going to put them all into an InDesign project, and we're going to use InDesign to create buttons that will interact with the pages. And then we're going to upload it to a site where you're going to actually be able to click and move through those buttons. And if you do it correctly, you will have what appears to be an interactive kiosk. Then the other thing I'm going to try to do as well, if I have enough time, either tonight or tomorrow night, probably tomorrow night, because I'm not going to get to all this tonight. It's going to be a 2-parter. Tonight I'm going to show you what I can, and then tomorrow we'll finish it up. The other thing I'm going to show you how to do is something very similar to create an interactive PDF. It's something that I think is incredibly valuable for you to know how to do, and it's eminently doable. So it's what I also want to show you. Okay. Okay. So project overview. The kiosk will be placed. The kiosk is placed close to the entrance of the store and used for customers to find. This is, listen very carefully. Look, I'm pointing it out right there. The whole purpose of this kiosk, this design that you're doing, is to help your viewers find their way around the store and be able to search to find the location of a specific item. Okay, so bottom line is this. This is a 2-week project. Let's keep it in perspective. Okay, this can be a very complex thing. We're doing the simplest, most basic form of this, which is to show how to navigate from department to department. That's part of the whole process. Okay, in the time frame that we have, if we get that much done, we're doing good. And you will learn everything you know to do this in a much more comprehensive way should you decide to do that in the future. But I don't want you to misunderstand this for a moment. The purpose of this is to get the viewer to understand how to get around the store and be able to search and find the location of a specific item. So basically, if you think about what we did last week, and I'm going to show you this again in a moment, we created a series of pages that had arrows pointing from the kiosk to the department. That is what we did to demonstrate, how to get around and where to find the specific items, okay, in each department. This project is about making kiosk, user-friendly and cohesive with a shopping experience and brand of the store. So again, there's a balance between doing this and making this thing user-friendly, easy for people to understand, but also keeping within the experience and branding of the store. That's why I was saying to you, it's very important for you to go in when you pick your store, depending upon what it is. Very good idea. The very first thing you should do is go in and find yourself the Walmart website, the Target main website, the Home Depot main website, and take a look around it and get familiar with it so that you understand how it looks, what it should look like, and what yours probably should look like. Because again, you know, you're going to try to mirror the brand of the store. It says it right here. Very important for you to understand this, okay? Very important points I'm trying to point out. I want to make sure that you got it. You will be choosing between several existing chain stores. You know all this. And again, they're here. Okay, there they are. Mine, I actually did Home Depot. And the departments I'm looking for, the lumber, paint, tools, yard and garden, and electrical, I found all that. I created mine. But what I did, because again, I think some people are struggling with understanding the buttons, is I actually created buttons for Walmart and Target. And I'm going to show you them shortly. All right. So there you go. And you can use the existing logo there. It gives you links to where to go. I'm not going to read this. I read all this already. But I just wanted to go over this. There's one thing that's very important. You're given a simplified store mat in the AI format. Okay, you can download it right there. If you haven't got that, you got to get that, because the bottom line is it gives you an idea of how it wants you to start this project. It gives you actual areas that you can build into the departments. Now, you can decide which departments go where. It's totally up to you. I did that. I decided where I wanted the paint to go, where I wanted the lumber to go, where I wanted the tools to go, where I wanted the electronics to go, where I wanted the yard and garden to go. I decided that. But the bottom line is it does give you a basic layout that you can use. It's a good way to get started. And just so that you understand, I used it. And the reason I used it is because I wanted you to know that you could use it. This is something that you should try to make easy for yourself. You shouldn't struggle with this. You shouldn't kill yourself with this. You should try to make this as easy as possible. And again, I'm trying to help you do that. I'm trying to show you and tell you how to approach this thing so that you can get this thing done in the time that's available to you. The most important thing, though, is that you understand these instructions. Very important for you to understand these instructions, because without these instructions, without a proper understanding, you're not going to do the buttons right. They're not going to look right. And I'm going to have to tell you that. And I'm going to have to try to explain to you why they're not right. And you're going to have to fix them. That's another reason why I go to such trouble to show you what buttons look like, because I want you to understand clearly what you should be doing to make those buttons correct. Okay? All right, so let me go to my Illustrator, okay? And here are my buttons. These are the buttons that I created last week for my project. I showed you basically how I did this, and I explained to you that I first got the logo, the Home Depot logo, which I found this one. And what I noticed about it was it's basically white and it's basically this orange color. And I noticed that the text tend to clip off of the actual background. It clipped out. So what I decided that I was going to do is I was going to employ white and orange, but then I figured that because of how I was going to end up doing mine, I would need a third color. And I felt after going to the website that the most logical color would be black. I decided to incorporate black into some of my logos where I needed it. So I went in and I created my logos. Also, I found the font, which I, off the top of my head, don't remember what the font was, but I did mention what the font was, and I was able to locate that font in the last week's discussion. So I had the font, and it turned out that it's basically the same font. I went online and I found appropriate graphics, this wood graphic, this bulb graphic, this water pitcher, and a little bit of grass here, this area that looks sort of like dripping paint, and these tools. I found all these graphics, so I was able to match all of my little departments to a appropriate graphic that makes sense very easily by just basically outlining the graphics that I found and combining them. And I did a demonstration of a couple of those last week, so I'm not going to repeat that. I'm just starting off here so that you can see what I'm looking for. Now, I'm going to bring you to the Target one. So here's my Walmart and my Target buttons. Now, these are what I did. I went in and I created my Target buttons. Let's see what I got here. There we go. Okay, and actually some of these things belong, this thing here belongs on electronics. There we go. Oh, that should go on electronics as well. You get that up there. This guy here should go up on pharmacy. All right, and I'm doing this because, and that should go on apparel, and that should go on home. All right, now, the reason I'm going to the trouble of doing this is because I just wanted to very quickly show you my basic button. So what I did, I went and I got the logos. The first thing I did is I went and I got the logos and I traced the logo. So now this logo is no longer a bitmap. This is a traced object. I brought the bitmap in. I selected it. I went Object, Image Trace, Make, and I made it and expanded it. I did the same thing with this symbol, which is right here. If you take a look at it, that right there is the actual symbol that I brought in. That's actually the symbol. And if I zoom in on this, okay, that's the actual symbol. If I go to the object menu, first of all, it's a bitmap. This is the important thing. This is a bitmap. And if I go with it selected, I go to Object, Image Trace, Make. All right, it goes away, but that's only because I need to up the threshold on it. So I'm bringing the threshold up and watch what happens. There, it comes back, and it actually looks pretty good. I can come in here if I want, and I can play around with the paths and see I'm not visually seeing much change there. So my guess is that that's probably about as good as it's going to get. And to be honest with you, under these circumstances, that's perfectly fine because we're building this thing as a mock-up. And in reality, if I were doing this true to life, I would have Walmart supplying me the original vector art that I could use on this. Right now, I'm simply providing myself with vector art. So now you see how clean this is. I can close this panel. This is pretty clean. So I'm going to go to the Object menu, and I'm going to go to Image Trace, and I'm going to expand it. And you see, it changes, and now it becomes a piece of vector art. So I can go Object, Ungroup, and there's a background area of white, which I'm going to delete. And I'm going to delete this little guy right here because I don't need it for what I'm doing. And now I have each of these little shapes, which is actually the little burst of the Walmart. So the first thing I'm going to do with this is I'm going to select it all and go Object, Group. And then I'm going to get my eyedropper tool, and I'm going to click on the yellow. And now I have my little yellow starburst. So let's go View, Fit, Artboard, and Window. Okay. And I'm going to take this over here, and I'm going to color this in blue. All right. So there I've colored this in blue. So basically what I'm doing is I'm establishing that shape as my basic button shape. And if you take a look over here, I've done exactly the same thing over here, except what I did was I placed my target button in front of it, all right? And I've actually made that background color kind of like a, I don't know, sort of a lighter version of the red, okay? Now, again, I'm pushing the limits of what's allowed in the branding environment, but because these are going to be little buttons that have graphics in front of it, I think I can get away with it. And I'm going to do the same thing here. So what I'm going to do is come back over here. So I got this little shape here. Let me move this Walmart logo out of the way. So I got this little shape here. And the reason I'm showing you this is because I'm really trying to give you an idea of what these buttons should be like, what you'd be doing. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to bring this over in front of that shape. And it actually is behind the shape. So I'm going to go Object, Arrange, Bring to Front. Now it's in front of the shape. And I'm going to get the free transform tool, and holding down the shift key, I'm going to bring this thing out and make it as big as I can make it on that shape, which is probably something like that. Okay, so now I have that shape approximately, well, I'd say as big as I can make it right there. Okay, so now the problem I have is when I go to put a piece of art in front of this yellow, because I'm going to be using white, is going to interfere. So what I decided to do is, again, this is going to be a button and it's going to be a background. So I know that what I could do is I could set the opacity level on this yellow, and I do that using transparency. There's my panel, the transparency panel. It's right there. Look. And if I close this to get that panel, I'm just going to go to the window menu and I'm going to go to transparency, and there's my transparency panel. And all I'm going to do is go to where it says opacity, and I'm going to drag this thing down to about 50%. Right about there. There we go. 50. Actually, I think it was 55 is what I used. 55. Right about. Oops, it's hard to get it. There we go. Yeah, it was probably 60. There. That's good enough right there. Okay, so look. What I have so far is, and that looks very close to that. What I have so far is I have the blue, the Walmart blue, and I have that nice little burst in actually yellow, but what I've done is I've made it partially transparent. And the reason I did that was because I didn't want it to interfere with the graphics that I placed on it. So if I go back to my layers panel, and if I bring my layers back, okay, you can see this is for grocery, this is for pharmacy, this is for apparel, this is for home, and this is for electronics. So what did I do to get them? I'll show you what I did to get them. I'm going to go to here. Let me see if I can go to my toolbar. Where is it? Vector black and white icon. There we go. Okay, so look. What I did to get all of these things, to get each one of these things right here. This is what I did. And I want you to pay close attention to what they look like. See how simple they are? And again, if you look over here, see how simple they are? Very simple graphics over buttons, and they tell the story. That's all that they're intended to do. So what I did was I went in and I searched for vector, black and white, icon art for groceries. And I did a search. I clicked on this, and I came up with this. And then all I have to do is if I want, I can go to settings, or let's go to tools. That's it. Sorry, tools. I can go to size, and I could get this thing to be, I don't know, like maybe there. That's the size that I got. That's probably a good size. Okay, and now let's just take a look at this one right here. Is there anything on there I like? Really? No, that's not quite any good. Let's take a look at that one. No good. I'm looking for something very generic, grocery, very grocery-like, very generic. I'm not finding anything I like there, so let's get out of there. Let's see if I can find another one. Groceries. There's a ton of stuff in here, and it's really up to you to decide what you want. Just keep it simple. Here we go. That might work. Let's see what we got here. This is probably okay. I guess I could use that. I'm only doing this. There we go. Shopping malls. All right, so there's that. You know what? Actually, I'm not going to download any because I actually have some. So let me just go back to the ones that I have. Let me get out of here for a second. The most important thing is, let me get out of here. Most important thing for you is to remember this. Vector, black and white, icon art for groceries, or vector, black and white, icon art for, and I'll do one more just so that you can see what I'm talking about. Let's go to pharmacy. Enter, and boom. See all the things that come up for pharmacy? There's pharmacy. All these little graphics are perfect for pharmacy. How simple they are. And there's tons of them. Here's another one. There's all kinds of them. See, there's pills. There's a bunch of them. So what I'm saying to you is you really aren't going to have any trouble finding this stuff if you look for it, okay? So what I did was this. I'm going to go File, Place, and I've already got some. See, I got all of the ones that I want in here. See them all? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the pharmacy again to show you how I did the pharmacy. I'm going to hit Place. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to actually draw this thing to the size that I want, which is about like that. Because this thing is actually pretty big. if you remember correctly, I went in and I actually found a pretty big sized one. Okay, so now I have my pharmacy graphics. See my little pharmacy graphics right there? So what I'm going to do now is zoom in on this, all right? And I'm going to trace this guy. So I'm going to, let me get this into position so you can see it. And again, this is black and white, so it's very simple. I'm going to go with it selected to the object menu, image trace, make. And you know what? You see how clean that comes up? I mean, that is really clean. That is more than good enough for what I need. So all I'm going to do here, I'm not even going to, don't even have to bring this panel out. I really don't. I can do it if I want, but I don't really need it. That's clean enough. I'm going to go object, image trace, expand. And see, now it becomes pieces of vector art. And I can go object, ungroup, and I can, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Let me zoom it out a little bit. Zoom out. There we go. Okay, so now what I can do is I can select that outer area and hit delete. Now what I want is I want that piece, that piece, that piece, and I want these guys right here. I don't want this, so I'm going to hit delete. Now, let me just show you something. These guys are still here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make them black so that you can see what I'm doing. There. Okay, so there are the pieces that I'm interested in. And I just move these things over and in a little tiny bit like that. And then what I'm going to do is select the whole bunch of it, the whole thing. And I'm going to make it white. And right now it's got white with a black stroke on it. I'll leave that on just temporarily. I'm going to lock this object lock selection. And I'm going to take these things here and I'm going to free transform them down, holding the Shift key and the Alt key. And I'm going to bring them down to about like that. And now I'm going to carefully move them over to here. And you can already see what's beginning to take place. I'll get this in here, something like that. Maybe I might make it a little tiny bit bigger, like that's probably good right there. Okay, and then with it selected, I'm going to select all of them. Okay, let me click all of these guys. And I'm simply going to remove the stroke. And now let's go View, Fit Artboard, and Window. And you can see my graphics. So they're probably a little bit bigger than the ones. These are a little bit smaller. So what I would do maybe is I'd come in and I would maybe make it a little bit smaller. I'm trying to make it as close to it as possible. Something like that's probably good. Okay. And maybe what I would do is move it up. I might just move it up a little bit. I'm trying to make it look as much like the other as possible and over a little bit. And that's probably pretty good. Okay. And then of course, what I did was I put drop shadows. So what I'm going to do is go Object, Unlock All. All right, and I'm going to make sure I got these two guys selected. Is that one thing? It's not grouped yet. All right, so I'll select those two. All right, I've selected that background area of blue and that little burst. And I'm going to go Object, Group. And then I'm going to go to Effect, and I'm going to apply a drop shadow to it. And you see it actually applied a drop shadow to it, just like that. Now I'm going to click on these buttons. Let me lock that again. Object lock selection. All right. And then I'm going to select all of these guys. And I'm going to go Effect, Apply, Drop Shadow. And now take a look. It looks pretty much like that one right there. That's my button. And what I'm trying to show you is if you go back to what they say about the button should be uniform and simple. And if you take a look, these are all very uniform and very simple. I mean, you pretty much know that these are groceries. You pretty much know that this is pharmacy. You pretty much know that this is electronics. You pretty much know that this is apparel. And you pretty much know that this is homeware, okay? So that is what we're looking for in the buttons. And this, you can see I could use those same basic graphics over top of a button background that's set up for Target as well. This is really what I'm looking for. And if we go over to here, let me go over to my Home Depot, you can see I've done something very similar here. Now, of course, I think these are a little bit wilder than the ones that I did on the other. I think the others are simpler. But I wanted to make sure that you absolutely clearly understand what's going on here, okay? So those are the buttons. And this is for week 3, this is the first part of your assignment. Now, the second part of the assignment is this. Let me go to my layers panel. The second part of the assignment is this. What you're looking at right now, this is your main navigational area. There's your kiosk. This is a logo, and the logo is situated in the middle here because I need a way to get back out to the opening screen if I choose to go back to the opening screen. Okay, this button here will take me back to the kiosk, which is, in my mind, this panel, which is the open panel. This is the main navigational area panel. Ultimately, this will link to this panel. This, if I go File, Open, I don't think I have it open. Map, Start. No, I don't. File, Open. Hold on. You go to up. Go to Desktop here. Let's go in and find week 3. Let's find files. I'm looking for my, where's my main panel? Let me see. Oops, nope, that's not right. Hold on. Departments. Nope. Go to my account, my paint search. Why isn't it there? Did I move it into week 4 maybe? Let me see. Where did it go? All right, I can't find it. So I'm going to do this. Let me go to my, I can do this. Go to my desktop and let me go to target button grab. Oh, nope. Wait a minute. Document. I'm not in the right desktop. There we go. Yeah, I am. Weeks 3 PDFs. Here we go. Okay. What am I looking for? Welcome screen. Let me open that. There. Okay. All right. So here is the only other thing. This is the welcome screen. You have to have a welcome screen. I'm using this screen as the very first thing that you encounter when you walk up to the kiosk. What's going to ultimately happen is you're going to click on this link right there. When you click on this link, it's going to take you, actually it's going to take you to here, okay? Now, this button right here is going to take you to the welcome screen, all right? That's, and again, you probably won't use it, but I used it to take you to that welcome screen, all right? Now, the kiosk is going to take you, once you get into these other pages, the kiosk is going to bring you back to this screen right here, okay? Now, what I did was I put the main logo on its own layer so that with this thing showing, I went File, Save As, and I saved this as a PDF, and I called it Main Navigation. And if you remember, I did that last week. I have them in here, okay? See, there's Main Navigation. Watch what happens when I open Main Navigation. There it is, Main Navigation, okay? So I have a series of PDFs in here. I have a series of PDFs in here, Main Navigation, Navigation Electric, Navigation Garden, Navigation Lumber, Navigation Paint, Navigation Tools, and Welcome Screen. All of my panels, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, they're all sitting right in here. This is my Welcome Screen. There's my Main Navigation. I'm going to open up my Navigation Electric, and I'm going to show you the difference between Main Navigation and Navigation Electric. Come on. Okay. Give it a second to redraw. Come on. There we go. Okay, the main difference between Main Navigation has that center button here, and this line is not showing. The only thing that you see that's different on this panel is this line, which is drawing to the electrical department from the kiosk. This is the whole purpose, is to show you how to get from the kiosk up to the electrical department. And each one of these shows you that path from the kiosk to the garden, from the kiosk to the lumber, from the kiosk to the paint, from the kiosk to the tools. So we end up with something that works like this. If I go to, let me go to File, Open. Let's see here. Come on, File, Open, and let me find Bill. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Bill Sweeney. Okay, here we go. Let me open this up, and I'll show you what I'm talking about All right, here we go. All right, so this is what I showed you last week, how to combine this. This is how you combine this into one PDF. Now, there's pages here. That's the whole point. Page number 1 is my logos. Page number 2 is my welcome screen. Page number 3 is my main navigation. Page number 4 takes me to tools. See the little line that takes you to the tools. Page number 5 takes me to the lumber. Page number 6 takes me from the kiosk to the paint. Number 7 takes me from the kiosk to the, let's see, view. Here we go. Oh, come on. Jeez, what a pain. All right, well, anyway, here we go. Oh, boy. See, I got full screen now. Well, anyway, here's basically what it is. Okay, so look, you have your welcome, you have your main navigation, and again, each one of these things, and just so that you know, it's very important that you understand this. Each one of these things, let me go to Illustrator. Each one of these things is on its own layer. So if I hide the main logo after I've made my main navigation right there, that's my main navigation. All I have to do really is hide the logo. And if I go to tools, I now have my little line that I created that takes me to the tools, and I would go File, Save As, and I would save that as tools. And then I would hide this, and I would show the yard, the lawn and garden. And I would save that, File, Save As, and these are all being saved as a PDF. They're all being saved as PDFs, and I went over this last week. I'm only trying to remind you what I'm doing here. It's very important that you understand what I'm doing here and why I'm doing it, okay? Because we're going to actually start building this now. Electrical, okay? So this takes me to electrical. This takes me to painting. And this takes me to lumber. So each one of these panels, the only difference is the line telling you where to go. So this takes me to lumber, painting, electrical, yard, tools, and then main, okay? And it's important that I have each one of those panels because in order for this kiosk to work the way it's supposed to work, we're supposed to learn how to navigate from the kiosk to the product. That's the whole point. So this is what this is doing. It's showing you how to navigate through the layout of the store to get you to the departments and what is in the departments. That's the whole point, okay? All right, now they give you this. This is the other thing I just wanted to remind you. They give you this. This is the basic layout that they give you to use. And I'm saying that, you know, you should use this. There's no reason why you can't use this. This is more than adequate to do what we're trying to do here. And as a matter of fact, you know, you can just take this and lock this layer. If you want it, you can change the colors, of course. I mean, I left mine gray. I didn't even change the colors. If you take a look at mine, okay, mine are in the original colors. Watch, I'll hide my main logo, my graphics, and what am I left with? I'm basically left with the panels that I have in the map. That's all there is to it, okay? So I'm saying you really don't need to do any more than that. You just need to add your graphics to it. And then, of course, you have to define the different panels. First panel being your main logo. Your main navigation panel. And I utilize the logo dead in the middle there because that's easy way for me to recognize that that's my main navigational panel. And I'm interested in all these buttons here, primarily here, okay, in this panel. If I click on any of these buttons, which you'll see me do in a while, it will take me from this panel to this panel. And then, of course, the other panels are here, okay? So painting, there's painting, see? And the only difference between the main navigation panel and the painting is the direction line that tells you how to get from the kiosk to that panel, okay? So there you go. And I end up needing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 PDFs to do this. Each one of these PDFs is a variation of the same background, except for the welcome screen. The welcome screen is the only, different one, and that looks like this, okay? The rest of them look sort of like this. This is what the rest of them look like. They look basically like this. This is telling me how to get to the kiosk, to the electrical, and this is your main navigational panel, okay? All right, so I hope that you understand this. So I'm going to close this. Now, there's one other thing I want to show you. So in the end, what you're going to do is you're going to submit to me for week 3 a combined PDF of all of these things. I did it right here. There's my combined PDF. Look, I have my page 1. There's my logos. There's my main navigational panel, and there are all of my other panels right there, okay? So that's basically right there. See how that is? And this is how it's done. I'll show you how it's done. In case you don't remember, I did this last week. I'm going to go to Tools, and I'm going to go to Create PDF from Multiple Files and Combine Files. Okay? I hit Next. And then all I have to do is add files, and I can click on this, and I can navigate, and I can find this, or I can just select that, hold the Shift key down, and select all of these, see? And then just drag them and drop them in here. And there you have all of your panels. Now, the only thing is the order is slightly out of order. I would probably want my welcome panel to be first. So what I would do is I would come up here and I would drag that and I would place that right there first. So now I have my welcome screen. That's the first panel that I see. And then notice the little logo in the middle. This is my main navigation. See where it says it right there? See, Project 2, main navigation. And then it doesn't really matter the order that you have these others in. It only matters later on when you start linking these things up. And I'm going to show you all about that in a minute. So there's how we're going to combine these files. You're going to come up here and you're going to click Combine Them. And what it's going to do is it's going to combine them. And it's going to save them, calling it Binder 1. Now I'm going to go File, Save. And I'm going to save this so that you can see what's going on here. I'm going to save this thing. I'm going to save it to week 3. I'm going to move this thing to a different folder. And I'm going to save this in Desktop Information Design. I'm going to save this in week 4. Okay, Binder 1. And I'm going to hit Save. And it's saving that file. All right. Now, if I go in and I go to my projects, here we go. And if I go to week 4, where's Binder? Right there. There's Binder. So if I click on Binder and open it up, there you have it. Look, and I have 1 of 7 pages. If I go down, there's page 2. Check it out. There's page 3. There's page 4. There's page 5. There's page 6. There's page 7. See how easy it is to do that? Now, the only thing that I didn't do in this particular case is I didn't include my page that has my original buttons in it, the logo and the buttons in it. I didn't include that one in this one. And the reason I did that is because tomorrow night I'm going to show you how to make this PDF interactive. I think you're going to really enjoy that, or at least I hope you'll enjoy that. So I saved this one so that tomorrow I can come in and show you how to do the interactive PDF on this particular file, which I'm calling Binder 1 for now. Okay? So I'm going to close this and let's actually get to work. Now, the first thing is I got Adobe InDesign open, and I've actually created this. So I'm going to open this guy up. I've actually created this once already. And I'm going to recreate this to show you how quickly and easy it is to recreate this. Okay? And I'm going to build as much of this as I can, and I'll finish it tomorrow night. Now, the important thing for you to understand is that this can be done very simply if you go to the trouble of doing what I did, which is to create your PDFs from your Adobe Illustrator file. Because these PDFs can actually be brought right into into InDesign and used as the page. You don't have to build the page. You can just bring them right in as images and you're good to go, okay? So watch how I do this. So I'm going to go back to here, and I have, let's go to the file document setup right here, and you'll see that it's set to page size letter half, which is 8.5 inches wide by 5.5 inches high. Okay, so I'm gonna hit cancel, and I just want you to understand, if you take a look at this, these are my pages. I got pages 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I also have added these other pages in here too, which you don't have to do. But I've actually added these pages in here because if you remember what the assignment says, let me go back to the assignment for 1 minute. What the assignment really talks about here, let me go to my assignment. It talks about showing you what's in the department as well. Now, I'm not making you do this because it's extra work, but I just want to go back to this just so I can quickly show you this so it makes sense. Go back to week 4 assignment, or actually week 3 assignment. Yeah, week 3 assignment. And let me go to where it describes that. Give me 1 second to get you there. All right, kiosks. Where is it? Okay. Search for and find a location for a specific item. So you see what I'm saying here? Search for a location of a specific item. So if you take a look at what I did, okay, so here is my lumber. I've got actually 2 pages here. I don't know where my lumber is. Let's see if I can locate my lumber. I think this is the lumber. Yes, it is. So this is page 1 of my lumber, okay? What happens on this one is when I go to this page, this button changes. On this page, this button, when you click this button on this page alone, it will take you down to the lumber, which is right here, okay? So really, I'm showing you, in this case, let's see if I can find that button again. I think it's this one. Yeah. I'm showing you how to get to the lumber department, and then when you click on the button that's on this page, it's going to take you and show you some of the items that are in the lumber department, okay? Again, this is how you would really want to do this. But you don't have to do this. You don't have to go to that degree. All I'm looking for you to do is to do the 7 primary pages. That will be enough, okay? I'm not trying to challenge you. I'm not trying to mess you up or freak you out. I'm trying to make this simple. I'm just trying to show you that I went to extra trouble. So I'm going to go File, New, Document. And I'm going to create an 8-page document. I have to go in. First of all, the size. I have the size set to landscape. Okay, this is important. Landscape. The width is 8.5 inches and the height is 5.5 inches. And I want to set this to 7 pages because if I have too many pages, I can always get rid of one. So the important thing in this particular thing right now is that the document be set to 8.5 inches wide by 5.5 inches high. 7 pages. That's the first thing. So I'm going to hit create. All right. And now I'm going to call this, come on. There we go. All right. I'm going to go File, Save As, and I'm just going to call this thing Kiosk. And I'm going to week 4. Okay? Kiosk week 4. No big deal. You know that in the end you're going to name this for submission properly, but I'm just going to call this Kiosk week 4. Hit save. All right. All right. Now, notice I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages down here. So I got my pages panel. Now, I probably am going to, well, I don't think I need layers just yet. So let's not worry about the layers. Let me go to my first page. I'm on my first page. So what do I want to do first? What I want to do first is I want to start putting my my artwork onto these pages. Now remember, I built PDFs, and if you build PDFs, you can simply place the whole thing right in as a PDF. You don't have to go to the trouble of rebuilding this whole thing. Okay, you can if you want, and I can show you how to do it. But if you do what I did week 3, and you create your individual panels in Adobe Illustrator and save them all correctly, you can simply just put them right in, and you've got this thing built. So let's see if that works. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to go to my trim. The black line is the trim. And I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to place a shape, a rectangular shape, a frame, right to my trim line. And I'm going to go File, Place. And I'm going to go into my I'm going to go to Desktop. And I have them in my, where are you? They're in the button graphics. Where are we at? Where did I put it? Week 3 PDFs. Here we go. Okay, so week 3 PDFs. All right, so what I'm looking for is the welcome screen. See it right there? Welcome screen. So I click on welcome screen, and I hit open. And boom, look at that. It actually placed the welcome screen exactly where I wanted it. Now, the only thing is the welcome screen looks like it could be just a tiny bit bigger, so I'm going to just drag it out just a touch, just a little bit bigger, right like that. I don't need it to be too much bigger. It's probably good right there. It's probably good. There we go. Now, if you want, you can go to the View menu, and you can go Display Performance, High Quality Display, and you can see basically what this is going to look like, and it looks pretty good. So you see how easy it is to bring these PDFs in. That's all you really have to do is create a frame. Now, I'm going to go Edit Undo. Let me click on this. And actually, let me click on this. And let me go Edit Cut. Oh, you know what? Actually, I don't think I need to do that. I got a better idea. All right, let me click on this, and let me go Edit Copy. Now, let me get my pages out. Let me go to page 2, and let me go Edit, Paste in Place. And now let me go to page 3, and let me go Edit, Paste in Place. Page 4, Edit, Paste in Place. Edit. I'll tell you why I'm doing this in a minute. I know it seems crazy, but in a minute, I'll tell you why I'm doing it. Edit. Whoops, hold on. There we go. Edit, Paste in Place. I'm pasting the same frame with the same art. Edit, Paste in Place into each of these pages. And Edit, Paste in Place. Okay, so what I did was I went in and I took the exact same frame that I'm using on frame 1, and I copied it and I pasted it on all these pages. Now, all I have to do is go to page 2, select the frame, and go File, Place, or let's see if I can go to my, let me go to my, hold on for 1 second, go to Window, and let's go to Links. Yeah, and let me go to Relink. Okay, and I can go up to my desktop. Let me go to my desktop. There's 2 ways you could do this, and I'm going to show you both. All right, so I'm going to go to week 1 PDF, week 3 PDF. Here we go. Now, main navigation. Okay, so the first one I put in was the welcome screen. Number 2 should be main navigation. So I hit open, and it relinks. Look at that. There you go. So now I have basically, if you look at my layers, I no longer have main navigation on this page. What I have is I have my pages correctly placed. Now, this thing's got to, looks like it's got to move up a little bit, actually. Yeah, there we go. Now we're in business. That's probably good. And actually, let me bring this thing down a little bit. Probably bring it in just a touch, actually. Actually, I'm not crazy about the way this is working. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this from here. And then what I'm going to do is select my frame, because it's a different size, it looks like. So what I'm going to do is go with the frame selected. I'm going to go File, Place. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to go to main navigation, and I'm going to hit open, and it places it in, and it places it in correctly. Okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to 3. I'm going to select this guy, and I'm going to delete that picture. And I'm going to go with selected, make sure that the frame is selected, File, Place, And see, at this point, it doesn't really matter the order of these things. Just keep in mind that we already used the welcome screen and we've already used main navigation. So what I'm looking for my navigation electric, my navigation garden, my navigation lumber, my navigation paint, my navigation tools. So I'm going to click on tools and hit open, and there is my tools. Okay? I'll move on to the next page. The little target button in the center, if I click on that little targeting button, I can delete this. Then with my regular selection tool, I can select my frame, because there's two things. There's a frame and there's what's in the frame. I just threw away what was in the frame, and the frame is selected, so I can now place something in the frame. So let's go File, Place. And this time here, I'm going to go to Garden. Let's see if I can find Garden. Navigation Tools, Lumber, Garden. And hit Open. And Garden comes in, and there's Garden. Okay? So now watch. If I come to there's my main, or my welcome screen. There's my main navigation. Here is my tools. And there's my garden. So I got 3 more to do right here. Okay? I'm going to, again, target this, delete it, select the frame, File, Place, and what's going on here? What did I do? I closed it. I hit the wrong thing. Shoot, File. What did I do? I reverted. I hit the wrong button, didn't I? Darn it. I'll be darned. I think I hit the wrong button. All right. Well, I got to do this again. I actually hit the wrong button. I don't even know how I did that. All right, so at any rate, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a frame. All right, so there's my frame. Edit, copy. And then I'm going to go to the next page. Edit, paste in place. Next frame. On the next page, edit, paste in place. And again, edit, paste in place. And so on and so forth. Edit, paste in place. I don't know how I did that. Edit, paste in place. It's very unfortunate. And edit, paste in place. There. Okay, so now we're back to where we started. So first one, making sure I got the first one selected. All right, very first one. I'm going to go File, Place. And I'm going to bring in my welcome screen and hit Open. There's my welcome screen. Boom. Okay, so then we go to 2 and File, Place. And this one is going to be my main navigation, which was right there. Main navigation, hit Open. And see, if you don't, what happens is if you don't select the frame, then it automatically fills the cursor, which is not what I want. So I want the frame selected. Remember to select the frame and then go File, Place. And then what will happen is when you go in the main navigation, it'll automatically put it in that frame. So keep in mind that when you go to your next page, you're going to select the page, select the frame, make sure you go File, Place after you got the frame selected. All right, so then I went to, let's see, go back here. It was Tools and hit Open. There we go. And now next one, page 4, select the frame, File, Place. And then we're going to go to Garden and hit Open. And now we'll move on to 5. 5, select the frame, File, Place. And this is going to be our wood, lumber. There we go. And hit Open. There we go. And 2 more, electronics, File, Place. Make sure that you got that frame selected. I didn't again. File, Place. There we go. And this one is going to be electric and hit Open. Boom. And finally, the last one, File, Place. And we will now have, that one is paint. Where's paint? Paint right there. Hit Open. Okay. Up. See again. Remember to select the frame, File, Place. And now paint was right there. Paint. Boom. All right. So File, Save. And now what I have, if you go to the View menu and let's go to Screen Mode Preview, you can see what we have. We have our main navigation, or I'm saying should say our opening screen. We have our main navigation. We have our tools, and we have our lumber, and we have our, I'm sorry, this one was not the lumber. This one is the yard and garden. This is the lumber, and then this is the electronics, and this is the painting. Go to the view menu and go to screen display performance high quality, and you can see what it looks like. It all looks pretty good. Only one problem that I see here is that this actual piece is a little bit smaller than it should be. It should be a little tiny bit bigger. So I'm going to have to cheat and drag this out just a tiny bit to get it a little bit bigger. There we go. That'll work. Okay. So there we have it. There's our layout. That's how simple it is to do this. That's step one, is that we get all of these pages in here. Now, step two is a very important step. What you need to do is you need to get a piece of paper or a pad or a pen, pad and pencil or something, and you need to write down the page numbers. So page number 1 is welcome. And I'm writing this down. Number 2 is main nav. Okay? Number 3 is tools. Number 4 is garden. Okay. Number 5 is lumber. Okay. And number 6 is electronics. Okay, that's number 6. Number 7 is paint. Now, you need to write this down both times you're working on this. And the reason that you need to write this down is because you have to know where your pages are. What we're going to do now is, now that we have this basically done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to begin the process of linking. All right, so what we have to do to link this is there's an actual links panel right here. Here's the links panel. Here's the links panel. All right, no, I'm sorry, that's not the right one. I'm looking for the, I'm sorry, the, go to window, interactive. Where is it at here? Interactive, here we go. Interactive, let's see, hyperlinks, I think is what it is. Hyperlink, well, actually, let me, yeah, I think that's it. All right, so anyway, here's what we're going to do. Go to Object, Interactive. Okay, so what we need to do, first of all, is we should probably create a layer. So we have this first layer. Now the layer that we have in here, we're going to call this layer artwork. Artwork, okay? So we're going to call this layer artwork. Everything is on that layer right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create another layer, and this is going to be my live button. Okay, live button. Hit OK. So now I'm going to lock the artwork layer, and I'm actually going to start creating buttons. Now, what you have to understand is the way we did this. There is no separate elements. These are all just one big picture. Okay. So in order for me to make buttons, I have to create shapes to make buttons from. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here with my basic shape tool, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click, and I'm going to drag a basic shape right around that button right there, right around that live area right there. Okay. And if you look, I got no fill. I got no fill, and I got no stroke on it. So basically, it's pretty much an invisible button. All right. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be an invisible button. If I deselect it, you don't see it. Okay. All right. Now, if I go to the view menu, and if I go back to screen mode, normal, you can see the frame. You see it? So there's my button. This is what I'm going to use to make a button. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this project, and I'm going to create the buttons that I need. So I need a button in the middle here. All right. I need a button in the middle here. So I'm going to create a shape over top of the middle button, right like that. Okay? I also need a paint button. So I'm going to create a shape up here over top of that. Going to create a shape over here, like that. I'm going to create a shape like that. I'm going to create a shape like this. I'm going to create a shape over the kiosk, okay, even though I don't use it right now. And I'm going to create a shape over here. All right, so now I have on my main or my welcome page, I have a little shape. And on my main navigation page, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, if I go into my layers panel, and if I open up my layers panel, and if I hide my artwork, see, you can see the shapes. See what I'm doing? I'm creating these shapes. These are actually going to be what I use to fire my buttons, to make my pages jump around from place to place. It's going to be very cool. You're going to like this. Okay? So that's what I'm doing. So let's go back to my welcome page. Let me select this object, all right? And I'm going to go to the object menu. Like, close this for a second. And let's go object. Let's go to, and it's got to be selected, object, interactive. And I'm going to convert to button. Okay, button. Let me bring it over here. And I'm going to button on release. Let's see here. On click. I guess on release or tap or on click is fine. And what we're going to do is actions, go to page. Okay, so look at what I'm doing. I got a button. It's just going to be called button 1. I can rename this if I want, but you don't really have to. On click, or I chose on click. On release or tap. See, it's the same thing. I mean, on release or tap, I think either way, I don't think it matters one way or the other. I think it basically is the same, okay? But the actions are what's important more than anything else. So what's the action? The action is go to a page, go to page, okay? Now, what happens is we're going to go to page 2, okay? Go to page 2 and then hit enter. So now, if I come over here, if I double click on this guy, it comes up and it says on release or tap, go to page 2. All right? So that means that it's showing you there are 7 pages here. This is going to take you to page 2. That's why it's kind of important for you to make your numbers the pages, because you're going to have to put the right pages in as we go along. So I hope you understand that. All right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to page 2, which is my main navigation area. So I'm going to bring this forward. I'm going to click on this button, and I'm going to go to object, and I'm going to go to interactive, convert to button, and on release or tap, I'm going to go to page, go to first page, okay? Go to the first page. Why? Because in this particular case, go to first page. On this particular case, this button is going to take me back out to my welcome screen, okay? Just so that you understand why I'm bothering. Now here, this one here, I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to go object, interactive, convert to button, right? And here, this button, which is painting, this is where you have to know where your pages are, okay? I'm going to on release or tap, go to a page, and this one I wrote down, painting is page 7. So I want to make sure I put 7 in there and hit enter. So now you can see it's telling me on release or tap, go to page 7. Okay? Now I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to click on this, go object, interactive, convert to button, on release or tap, go to page, and this one here is electric. So electric in my layout is number 6. So I'm going to click on 6, hit enter. Now I know that this is set, this button is set to take me to page 6 when I fire it. Okay? And I'm going to continue. I'm going to continue going through the process. Lumber. I'm going to click on lumber, and I'm going to go object interactive, convert to button, and then on release or tap, go to a page, and this is lumber, and my lumber is on page 4, so I'm going to make sure that I set this to page 4, and I'm going to hit enter. Always remember to hit enter because you want to register that number in there. So you always have to, when you set it, hit enter, okay? I'm left with a couple left here. There's this guy right here, which is tools. I'm going to go object interactive, convert to button, and on tap or release, we're going to go to page, and this one here is tools, and on my list, tools are page 3, so I'm going to click on this and go to page 3 and hit enter. Always remember, hit enter so that you can actually register this. Click on this, go to object interactive, convert to button, and on release or tap, I'm going to go to page, and this one here is electric. Oh, I'm sorry, no, this is yard and garden. Yard and garden is on page 4, so I'm going to click on page 4 and hit enter. Okay, and I think I got everyone except for my kiosk. And I'm not going to put a kiosk. Well, actually, I can put a kiosk on here. All right, so on this one, I'm going to go object interactive and convert to button. And on release or tap, go to a page. Go to page. And I'm going to go to page, the main panel. This is the kiosk panel. This is the panel that we're on. So it's going to be 2. So 2. Now, the reason I'm doing this, and hit enter, the reason I'm doing this is because theoretically, now that I've created these buttons, what I should be able to do, let me go back in here and let me try this. I should be able to just do this. Let me go back to my, go to my next page. Yeah, see, now I don't have any buttons on this one yet. So if I go back to here, and if I click on this, hold down the shift key and click on this, and this, not this, but these. And if I go edit copy, I should simply be able to go into here and go edit paste in place. And I've pasted those buttons onto that page. I can go to the next page and I can go edit paste in place. And now I've copied and pasted those buttons into place here. And I can do the same thing on the next page, edit, paste in place. And now I've placed them here. And I'll do it 2 more times, edit, paste in place. And last one, edit, paste in place. All right, now, each one of these little buttons will take me to the page that I've indicated here. So if I go click on this, all right, double click on it. See if I can bring the panel out. If I can, let's go object, interactive. I don't know why, but it's not behaving the right way. I should be able to double click this and get this panel open up. I don't know why it's not. It's behaving funny tonight. Nope. I'll be darned. Yeah, see, it's behaving oddly. Let me click on it. Let me go object, interactive, convert to object. No, I don't want to do that. Yeah, I'll do it because I want to get the panel back out. All right, so I'm going to click on this and go object, interactive, convert to button. There's the panel. That's what I wanted, the panel out. Okay, so this one here is electric. And I'm on, I don't know what page I'm on, but I want to take that to electric. So electric in this particular case is 6. So I want to make sure that on release or tap, I go to a page, and I'm going to put 6 in there to fix this, 6. Okay, so 6. All right, so the point I'm trying to make is I'll leave this buttons and forms out. I should really put that out. All right, All right, now what I want to point out here is that there's a little icon. You can see it here. You can see it there. There's a little icon there, little icon there, little icon there, little icon there. So each one of these little things, and if you notice, this no longer looks like a regular line. Like if I create a rectangular shape like this, that's what it looks like, okay? But that don't look like that, see, because that's a button. Okay, so I know there's a button there. And I know that that button, because I linked it up, that button there is going to take me to the paint panel, which is this panel right here, okay? Now, I don't need to have this go to here, but it's since I copied and pasted them from one to another, I might as well have them all firing, all right? So this way, I basically know that they're all going to be working and they're all going to be doing what I want them to do, okay? So that's really what it is. The whole thing in a nutshell is that what you're going to do is you're going to start off by building a document that is, go to File, Document Setup. The document is approximately a 7-page document. They're not facing pages. They're half letter size, which is width of 8.5 wide by 5.5 high. Okay, if you want, you can put all these bleeds and things in here. It doesn't matter. The orientation is landscape. I'm going to hit cancel because I'm not changing that. You're then going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages, which you're going to put a frame on each page, and you're just going to bring in one of your panels per page. In the first panel is going to be your welcome panel, or your welcome panel. Second panel is your main navigational panel. Third panel, which is one of your panels from kiosk to department. Number 2 is another one from kiosk to department. From kiosk to department, that's the whole purpose of this. From kiosk to department, from kiosk to department. You got to remember which panel is on which page. Write them down. Number 1 is your welcome page. Number 2 is your main navigation. Number 3 is your tools. This is in my case, but I'm just trying to make sure you understand the steps. I wrote all this down, so I know exactly how I can get these numbers right, okay? Number 4 is my tool, plants, lawn and garden. Number 5, my lumber. Number 6 is my electronics, and number 7 is my paint. I created little rectangular shapes. I started on this panel right here. I created all the shapes. Let me hide them so you can see what I'm talking about. I created all these shapes and turned them into buttons. Now, every one of these buttons, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one, not this one, but all of these little buttons here appear and operate the same on all of your pages. So I copied them after I turned them into buttons. I copied them and pasted them to all the pages so that I hopefully now have something that's going to work. It's going to fire exactly the way that the project should work as a kiosk. Okay? So if all of that is done, if you got all that hooked up, if you're all set to go, the next step would be to turn this into an actual live kiosk online. I'm going to show you how to do that now, all right? But I just want to, before I do that, I just want to go back in and I want to quickly take you look at this again. Click one of these buttons. Now, it's very important that you realize that almost the same thing happens for each of these buttons. You basically choose an event. The event I chose was on release or tap. It could just as well be on click, because I think on click is pretty much the same as on release or tap, okay? Now, there's also a couple of things that you could use for PDFs, but we're not talking about that yet. Tomorrow night we'll talk about that. So it's on release or tap or on click, whichever you choose. I chose that. You're going to click on the actions, okay? And you're going to choose an action. I chose basically go to a page. And when I did that, I have the ability to put in a page. So my number 7, you'll notice that my page is showing number 7 here. And as I told you, I wrote down in my list number 7. And after I type in number 7, this is very important. After you type in number 7, you have to hit enter in order for this to catch. Now watch what happens when I go to electric. It's number 6. Go to page on release or tap. You understand? So on release or tap, you're going to add a new action, and the action will more than likely be go to page, and then you write down this is electric. Electric is number 6, and I'm verifying that number 6 is correct. Okay? I'm now going to go here, and the same thing. On release or tap, go to page, number 4, and that's for lumber, and my number 4 is garden, so I have a mistake. That's not right. My number lumber is number 5, so I have a mistake. I'm glad I checked that. Number 5, and hit enter. So this is lumber. Go to page 5. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. So I'm glad I checked this because that wouldn't work. Now this is tools. Tools are number 3, so that's correct. And this one here, page number 4, which is garden, that's correct. Kiosk. This should go back to page number 2, and that's correct. All right. Now that I see this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to check all of my pages. So let me go back to my pages. I'm on page number 2. Let me go to number 3. Here's number 3. And this one should go to number 7 because it's painting. That's correct. This one here should go to number 6. That's electric. That's correct. Lumber, that should go to number 5. It's on number 4, so you can see it's incorrect. Okay? Now, I'm correcting this because I spotted the error. Now, you need to check this. That's why I'm doing this, so that you understand. You should check this. What I'm checking it against is where I wrote this down on a pad next to me. Okay? So lumber on mine is number 5. I have it as number 4. It was a mistake. I hit enter. Now it's reading number 5. My tools, number 3. Tools are number 3. That checks out. My yard and garden is number 4. That checks out. My kiosk is number 2. That checks out. If I come back over here and click lumber again, it's now number 5. Okay? So I have to go through all of these things now, and I can quickly whip through these. That's correct. That's correct. This is not correct. It should be number 5, so I can click on this and make it number 5. Hit enter. I'm hitting enter specifically so that the number that I'm putting in there registers, and that's important for you to understand as well. So that's number 3, and that's number 4, and that's number 2. And now I'm going to move on to the next one. And this is number 7, 6, and that's number 5, which is correct. That one has been fixed. And that is number 3, and that is tools, and that's 3. That's correct. And this one here is 4, and that's correct. And kiosk goes back to number 2. That's good. So let's see. I got one left here. Did I get that one? Number 5, I corrected it. Okay. So now, and this goes to go to the first page. This is the only one that I did differently. Instead of me going in and going go to page, I just set it to go to first page. And the reason I did that was because, oops, let me go back. The reason I did that is because I happen to know that I want this thing to go to the first page, which is my welcome page right there. And then, of course, this is going to go to a page number 2. Okay? So there you go. That's basically how you do it. This is the panel. This is the buttons and forms panel. And you get that panel by selecting an object and going up here and going object, interactive, and then convert to button. All right, I've already done this. I'm just showing you. What I generally do is after I get this panel out like this, I generally bring this panel over and I put the panel out and leave the panel out, because until I actually have this whole thing completely correct, I want that panel out so I can go in and make changes to it. So I can quickly grab that thing, open it up, click on this, and you see now I'm looking at my instructions. It's all right there. Okay? All right. So now that I've got that done, and I know that all of my buttons are going to work the way I want them to work, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this to an online interactive kiosk. And there's an actual place where we can do this. So what I'm going to do is go to the File menu, and I'm going to go Publish Online. Okay? So make sure before you do this, all right, make sure before you do this, make sure that you have everything the way you want it. And as I say, it's very important for you when you get your pages set up in here, it's very important for you to go through and make note of where your pages are and actually write them down, because you're going to go back in and you're going to use them as a reference to make sure that you have your pages linked up properly to your shapes, okay? Especially when you get into pages like this where you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 individual links on one page. You want to make sure that all these links are correct. And again, let me just go back and show you one more time. Hide the artboard. These are no longer just little frames. You see the little interactive button right there? That right there tells the whole tale. You got little buttons on each one of these guys. And if you go to your pages, you're going to see that as you go through here, see all these little buttons that show on the page? They are all live buttons. So all of the information that we put into here to make this thing an interactive document has been applied to every one of these pages. They're all going to be buttons. They should all work. All right? All right, let's go back to my layers and let's show my layers. All right, so then again, like I say, go to my, there we go, first page. All right. And again, the final thing, file, go to interactive. Oh, I'm sorry, publish online, and give it a second. Here we go. I'm going to call this Kiosk Week 4. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to name this Bill-Kiosk. And then this is going to be -WK4. Okay? And then this is just basically I'm going to call this description Kiosk, K-I-O-S-K demo, D-E-M-O. Okay? So really, what I'm doing here is I'm getting ready to publish this. Now, I'm going to publish this as a new document. If I go in and I do this and I find that there are errors, I can come back in here and I can republish this and I can update the existing document if I find errors. I may find an error on this. It may error. I doubt it will. I think I got it covered. But if there is an error, you can always go back in and republish this thing and update an existing document. So once I put Bill Kiosk Week 4 up there, that will be up there, and I can go in and I can take a look at this thing and see how it works. Okay, you're going to do the same thing. So right now I'm publishing a new document. I have another one up there that I did that works. We can take a look at that later. But right now I'm publishing this. So publishing a new document. I make sure that it's imported as a single, all the pages. Okay, and then I'm going to hit publish, and it'll publish this thing. Give it a second. It's going to take a few minutes to do this. I should get a window in a minute. There it is. Now it's going to upload my document. See it? And I have two things. I have copied this URL to share. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to open up Microsoft Word so that you can see this. This is cool. New document. Watch this. It's really cool. And Control V. There's the link. That is the link to my uploaded online kiosk design. So I'm going to save this file, save as, and I'll call this browse to my desktop. And let's go to my folder for tonight. And it is in, where are you? PDFs right there. I'm going to call this link to Monday kiosk upload. Okay, and link, L-I-N-K. I don't spell very good, do I? L-I-N-K. Link to Monday kiosk upload. Hit save. There we go. And now I've got that link, and I'm going to view the document. And let's see if this thing works. I'm going to go online. Look, I'm online. This is great. There it is. It's online. Now, all I need to do is come over here and see right here. Look, as I move over the top of that shape, I don't get anything because there's no button there. I don't get anything here because there's no button. But when I come over here oh, there's a button. So if I click it, I'm brought into my main navigation area. Now, I can come over here, and if I want to see what painting looks like, I click. In other words, what I'm doing now is I got my kiosk button. If I click on the kiosk button, nothing's going to happen because this links back to this page. If I click on this button, it's going to take me back out to my welcome page. So I need to click on this to get back in. So I want to see how to get from the kiosk to the painting department. I click on painting, and you see what it does? It brings me to the page that brings me to that department. If I want to go back to the kiosk, I click the kiosk, and it brings me back to the kiosk. If I want to go to the electronics department, I click on the electrical, and it takes me to the electronics department. Now, the other thing that's really cool about this is I can come over here from where I am right now. If I want to go to Yards and Gardens, I can click on this button here, and it takes me to Yards and Gardens. So there's a number of ways that I can do this. I can click here and it takes me to tools. See how this is working? Very simple, really. And there you go. If I want to go to kiosk, I can come back to my kiosk. If I want to go out, I go back out. There we go. Okay? So that right there, guys, is what you're trying to accomplish. I really think this is an enjoyable project. Probably tomorrow night, since I want to show you how to do the same thing using Adobe PDF. I want to show you how to make an interactive PDF because that's something else you need to learn. I will probably do a little bit of this demonstration over again just to make sure that you understand how this is done. But what I did tonight is pretty much the steps. The most important thing, all right, and I'm going to get out of here right now. The most important thing, and I'm going to hit close because I'm done with that. The most important thing for you guys is to build your welcome page, your main navigational page, and you have to put these logos in here so that these logos can be accessed and turned into buttons. You need to have a page that navigates you from the kiosk to the tools. You have to have a page that navigates you from the kiosk to the yard and garden. You have to have a page that navigates you from the kiosk to the lumber. You have to have a page that navigates you from the kiosk to the electric, and you have to have a page that navigates you from the kiosk to the painting. You then have to create buttons, and what I did, if you remember, I created the buttons on one page only. I set them all up on one page only. And then I copied each one except for the one in the middle, which don't appear. That middle button only appears on your main page. It doesn't appear on any of these other pages. It only appears here, okay? But the rest of these buttons appear on every other page, and they function the same on every other page. So really, all you have to do is link them up on the first page, copy them all carefully, and paste them in position, paste them in place on all the other pages, and you'll have what you need to do this. And then you just go to the file menu and go publish online and go through the steps that we just did. Okay? I'm pretty much done with this for tonight. I hope that you found this helpful. I will say this, if you have any questions or if you have any problems or anything at all, please give me a call. Don't hesitate to give me a call. I'll talk to you. 908-821-5033. Send me an email, whatever. I mean, I'm very much willing to help you any way that I can. It's very important, though, that you understand in order for you to do this week, you absolutely have got to have your week 3 assignment done. You have to build these pages, and the pages basically are one single page right here that have one minor difference to it. This logo goes away and these little lines appear on the other pages. That's only difference is that one little line. It's not as hard as you might think it is. The hardest part is building the one page. Once you got the one page built, the rest of it's all just putting lines together on each one of these PDFs. And you have to save each one of them as a PDF so that you can bring it into InDesign and you can actually create this interactive PDF. So I'm going to hit save, file, save. I've saved it. I've done it all. Again, as I say, I hope you find this helpful. I hope you didn't find it too convoluted or too difficult. It's not that difficult. It truly is not that difficult. You just have to have a little patience, watch what I'm doing, and be very careful to make some notes. Like I told you, I very carefully went in here and I made notes to what each of these individual pages were and where their numbers were. I did that specifically so that when I created these little buttons, I was able to actually link them to the right page. There, these pages. Each of these buttons links to its same page. That's the most important thing. Okay? That's all I got for tonight. Thank you very much. Like I said, get in touch with me if you need anything. Have a good night.